It's just gone 8:30 again in the AM, and I'm on my way to pick up Dan again for an episode of The Plan. And what's the plan today? Well, today we're going to be talking about, is live music dead? Is live music going to survive? So many venues are shutting down. Festivals are kind of thriving, but venues are shutting down. And if you kill the grassroots of live music, does that kill live music? And also, what's the best live music event ever? What's been the best live music performance ever? And what's the best live music performance we've ever seen? It's going to be an interesting one. Stick around.
A picture of us. It must have been somewhere in and around between lockdowns. Eat out to help out or whatever the bullshit was. And you got a big bushy beard.
Over
massive
lockdown,
beard.
I didn't shave once for 2 years. I don't want to piss out of it.
Yeah.
It was a. Well, I've got nothing to do. I'm going to grab a beard.
Yes.
Just to see how big it can get. It's quite surprising how big
It
a beard
is.
can
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
It's even more surprising how much hassle it is. You wake up in the morning, look in the mirror and go, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's big and itchy and horrible, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, the relief of getting rid of it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Right, so we are in a pub called, I don't know what it's called now. It might
The
be
Angel.
something else. It's called The Angels now, but it used to be called The Angels Reply. And it's a weird pub for me because in the 70s and early 80s, this is the pub where my dad drank.
Was it?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that.
So, my dad used to drink here. I sat outside here as a kid sometimes. And then in around 1991 or maybe 1992, it wasn't the first gig I ever did, but it was probably the second or maybe third gig I ever did, was in this pub. And this pub just round the bar there now has a children's play area with a ball pool and slides and all that. Years ago in the 90s, it was just like a big empty function room. And pretty much, I think every other week or something, someone would put a stage and a PA system and a load of local bands would be playing. And I used to come here all the time, and I used to live not near this at all. I mean, I don't now, but for a long time I did live here. But before I lived around here, I'd travel to come and see gigs here. And then a band I joined, and I think I was the youngest guy in the band. I was playing keyboards when I was 17 or 18 or whatever. All the rest of them in their 20s.
I don't think I've ever seen you play a keyboard. Can you actually play keyboards?
Yeah.
Can you?
But I mean, I haven't properly
No.
in years.
I cut in then, but I was going to say, actually, it's interesting, isn't it, how you lose the ability to play. I've got a rack of guitars that I sort of pick up, strum a couple of chords on, and then you're like, I've forgotten everything.
I mean, with guitar, I play a couple of bars now. Loop it, do something with it. I don't play anymore.
Sorry, anyway, you were saying Angel, ball pit, slide, stage, PA, local bands.
This used to be a venue, basically, and it was maybe the second or third gig I ever did. And I remember it clear as day because my parents were very keen to come and see me do this gig. And I'm like, nope, definitely don't want you coming to the gig. And just as we were going on stage, I noticed they were outside looking in through the windows, which I was like, no. But terrible gig. Not because we were a terrible band. That band were actually pretty good. I didn't massively like the music, but the guitarist, and bearing in mind this was like 91 maybe, I think, the guitarist relied heavily on effects, especially delays and things. Very much like the Edge sort of sound. His effects box went kaput on the first song. So all of that sound, which was the main bit of our sound.
Went Bill Bailey.
Went very Bill, exactly like the Bill Bailey sketch. I had, my keyboard parts were, it was like in the days of all that sort of Manchester sort of stuff. So they wanted me to use organ sounds and that all the time. It was all that kind of stuff. It was a pretty terrible gig. It went down well. Everyone loved it, but I left the band after that gig. It was our first and last.
One last gig for you.
I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
And then I went off with the guitarist, who was Rob, and we started our own band.
I thought you started going out.
No.
It went a bit Lindsay Buckingham and Stevie Nicks after that.
I just thought it was a good place to start this chat about live music, seeing as this was where it kind of started for me, really.
Well, I did a few when I was sort of at school. We had a band and we did some original stuff, but I was always the function band, and one of the jobs I had after doing, because I did a lot of playback work back in the day, MIDI tech, all that sort of stuff. And I thought, hang on, I'm going to build a studio where I can rehearse a band. I'm going to buy a decent Mac, and it was actually an X32, so produce backing tracks.
Yep.
I actually used to get the backing tracks from a dodgy website called Karaoke Version, right? But they were really high quality backing tracks just for karaoke's, but they did multi tracks.
Okay.
So you paid like $1.99.
It's like audio or MIDI files?
Audio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I then built the backing tracks in a Logic Arranger with, and then have them on separate outputs. Then employed an engineer, bought a van, employed a load of people, and off we went, and we were a sort of function band. We did, weddings, bar mitzvahs, and the like.
Yeah.
But we were really good. We used to play a lot of big rugby clubs and quite big gigs, corporate gigs and stuff. But the biggest downfall was you have to get there at about 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
You have to load it like before all the tables are set and stuff. Yep. And then try not to get drunk. But it was, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. But it was interesting actually. Somebody I know bought a nice Telecaster recently, but it was your actual. I had a Telecaster and that was like the workhorse. I had a Telecaster and an SG. I had a really nice rig and we were a really good band. A fucking amazing keyboard player. Good. We had a male singer and a female singer. I had them dress up as waiters most of the time. We did all the black waistcoats and the black tie thing. But we used to make some good money and have some good fun and stuff. We did.
So why did it end?
Far too much drinking and I got so fed up with it because it just took up all the weekends.
Yeah.
And like I say, you'd be away. We'd go miles and you'd be away from Saturday morning and you wouldn't get back till Sunday morning.
It's a big commitment being in a band.
Yeah, and I was in charge. That was the other thing. So everybody else would be messing around. And I obviously, I don't mess around ever. But it just got to be too much hard work, and then people start falling out, and shagging, and people taking drugs, and the bass player stops learning the songs, and you start to come up with all these new ideas and trying to freshen it up, and nobody learns anything, and then people I don't like him, I don't want to sing. So I was like, you know what?
Yeah, thanks very much.
Of you. I'm going to sell the studio. So that's what happened in the end. So yeah. But like you were saying about the keyboards, is like now I pick up a guitar. I can't remember any of the songs that we used to do. We used to do some really good, everything from Beyonce to Stereophonics and some really cool stuff. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Madonna, and like real good sort of dancey
proper function
stuff.
Man.
Yeah.
But I think,
all the horns and the backing vocals, of course, on the tracks, it was proper. Anyway, I sort of look back on it with some level of fondness now.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah, I sort of don't have that kind of background. The kind of bands I was in were, apart from that band, which was a band, and I think I was in another traditional band before that. I was a guitarist in a band before that. After that, I went, right, that's not my thing. I like electronic stuff. I like samples and all of that. And the next band I was in with Rob, we were called the International Groove Foundation.
IGF, yeah.
IGF. And we did all right. We did loads of gigs all over the place. And it was me. I was kind of half singing, half rapping. Rob had basically a mixer and a DAT machine, and he was basically mixing the backing tracks with my vocals. We had a backing vocalist, and then we had a drummer for quite a long time, and then for some gigs we would bring in a percussionist and another backing vocalist, and it kind of grew or shrank depending on the size of the gig. We did it for 4 years.
A DAT machine and a mixer?
Yeah, so he would mix all the vocals. I wouldn't trust the engineer out front to mix the vocals right. So we would just give them left and right. So we would put everything into our own mixer.
I worked with a band. I won't say who it was because they're a well-known artist, but I worked with a band like that.
Yeah. It's generally a bad idea. Generally, I would say don't do it.
Yeah.
No one else can hear properly apart from
if you're using tracks, multi-track them and send the multi-tracks to the engineer.
Yeah. This was the days before that. There was no... Unless you took a reel-to-reel on stage, there was no way to do it. We did actually
Milli Vanilli did.
Well, we started off with a 4-track cassette recorder,
Yeah.
and it broke on the first gig we used it, and it sped up. Me and Rob playing a gig in front of us. I remember there was a guy from EMI there. We were really excited, and we were both playing guitars, and I was singing, and the backing tracks were coming from a 4-track, Tascam Porter 01 it was. And just started speeding up.
Yeah.
And it was like, what do we do?
I used to engineer for a lot of bands, doing the Camden circuit and stuff. But that was another one, really, and using the old, Studio Masters and stuff like that, and getting an extra couple of dB off your vocals, running your vocals through 2 groups to try and just get the vocals. That was always the one, getting the vocals above the guitars.
Always. No one ever thinks turning guitars down, do they?
No. Guitarists, they're not going to turn the guitars down.
So this venue, I think, is a good jumping off point for the conversation we need to have. So this, every other week, I think it was, had a gig on where all the local... There is a gig, is there? There is a gig. Okay, so that must be here in the bar.
Yeah.
But there was, honestly, you would fit a couple hundred people in there, and they would...
Which one would you rather go to?
What have we got? We've got live music from Nicky.
Yeah.
And live music from Rocky and Searle, or Kids Pancake Party. It's a tough one. Do you like a pancake?
Yeah. Not anyway. We'll leave that joke there.
But I think the thing is that venues like this, which were full of young people. There was like between sort of 18 and 25-year-olds rammed, a couple hundred people every time they had a gig here, and now it's a ball pool. And then I would say 9 out of the 10 venues that were in this town when I first lived here are gone. Those bars don't have gigs anymore. So there's no grassroots.
I come from Northampton. The big gig there was the Roadmender.
Yeah.
And they also have another gig called the Black Prince, and they're both still pretty busy actually. Yeah. And there was a pub. Did you come to my house in the town? Yeah, you did. Yeah. The town centre. Yeah. The last time I lived on my own.
Yeah, it was
I found some pictures of that place recently. That was a great place.
I liked it there.
Yeah.
Brilliant pub at the end of your road.
Well, that pub at the end of the road, they have jazz and swing and blues.
They always had great stuff.
Yeah.
There was bands, there was DJs, and there was your well-known guy in there.
Yeah, the best backstreet boozer. The Garibaldi in Northampton.
Great pub.
It was a great boozer, yeah.
I know they're out there, but they're just not out there in the numbers, and I'm worried that it's killing off bands. There's nowhere to play, so why be in a band?
Well, this is it. I mean, I don't... The thing is, my brother's a music teacher, and he does a lot with younger kids. But do you remember that excitement? It's like the excitement of going into a guitar shop when you're first learning to guitar. And you see these kids, they first start actually playing together, like in a 3-piece, and they find the first, the pockets, they call it, don't they? When you first get into a groove. And it's like that.
It's the best thing.
Whoa! But then you lose the sheen not very quickly, but the sheen comes off it. But then we did this the other day. I asked you who your favourite rock and roll band was at the moment, and you said,
"Oh, Wonder Horse."
Wonder Horse.
Yeah.
But back in the day, even mid-90s, you looked, there was guitar bands were everywhere.
Yeah, you'd have endless amounts to choose from. Yeah.
But now there's
not as many. Nowhere near as many. No, that's true. Yeah, it's definitely changed. The landscape has changed. But I do think that is because there is nowhere for bands to play, so kids don't grow up seeing or hearing of gigs.
Around,
therefore, it doesn't go through their head that they can be in a band. But you're right, that feeling. I remember the first time I was in a room, I got electric guitar, I think, when I was 12, maybe 13. I spent a year messing around on my own trying to learn how to play it. And then I bumped into a kid at school, my mate Nick, who we were in bands for years together. He... literally chatting to him at school one day, and he's like, "Oh, I've just got a drum kit." And that lunchtime, like, right, we're going to your house. Yeah. And we set up his drums, and I'm coming back after school with my guitar, and that was it. We started a band.
When I was at school, they blackmailed me to be allowed in the music rooms. I had to play rugby. That was how much kids wanted to play music and be in bands. In fact, on the way here, I still, oddly enough, my brother Bobby still plays in a band with the Mannings. They're they're the 9th biggest family in Northamptonshire apparently. But I was in a band with my friend Matthew Manning and Ches and Daniel Morrison and stuff. But we still do gigs with them these days. But we're at a stage now where they sort of rehearse. And Bobby's a professional drummer, so he has all sorts of gigs. But I'll stand in for Bob when Bob's not there. But you don't have to rehearse anymore. You just sort of turn up and do it, But those are just pub gigs. It's like, you get 100 quid and free beer for the night. Do you know what? I've just realised those are my favourite kind of gigs. Band tab, 100 quid. 100 quid cash. How often do you have cash in your pocket these days?
So, best live performance ever. You weren't necessarily there. What was it?
There are two that spring to mind immediately. One is Metallica playing Justice for All in Russia to 1 million people.
Okay.
With the military helicopters flying over the top.
When was this?
It's would have been, I don't know, I'm going to say late 80s, early 90s. But the other obvious one is what?
Well, I'm just thinking it had to be after the wall came down and all that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it had to be.
I think it was an Ozfest or something, but it's widely renowned as one of the biggest metal performances ever. I know what a metal fan you are.
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, I just remember there were no performances in Russia until well into the 90s. So yeah, it must have been 90s.
Yeah, I mean the other one is Prince at the George Harrison.
That was amazing.
Tribute.
No guitar solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yeah, that's up there. That is definitely up there.
You go, and I'll look up the Metallica reference.
Well, I think there's a few. Obviously, the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. We were talking about this a few weeks ago, weren't we?
The Freddie Mercury. Oh man, George Michael, somebody to love.
George Michael, somebody to. I mean, that is unbelievable performance.
Yeah,
unbelievable performance. That's right up there.
Even though Brian May's there.
Even though Brian May's there. Not a fan, are you?
No. He can go in the bin with Elon Musk and Gary Barlow.
Oh wow, he's that bad? He's going in the bin?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll sort that out.
Good guitar parts, good,
incredible.
But generally...
Not your bag.
Well, he's got, like I always say, he's just a bit annoying to look at.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so back to the best performances. The Metallica one was September 28th, 91.
91, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. And what was the other one? You said you had two.
Well, Prince.
Of course.
While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of those performances where you see the other musicians acknowledging that was something special.
They're not other musicians. It's Tom Petty.
No, I know.
Jeff Lynne.
Yeah.
Your mate Ray Cooper.
My mate Ray, he's amazing.
He is. Yeah. Nobody can play a tambourine where he does that. He does that trick.
He does that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first
you think
time
it's easy playing tambourine? It's really difficult.
Well, I was at Nebworth 90. In fact, this is a weird thing. So yesterday I was with my client at the Radio 2 breakfast show, which was being hosted by Mark Goodyear. Mark Goodyear in 1990 was doing the Radio 1 Roadshow, the precursor to the big weekend, outside Nebworth 90, the concert. I'd gone there with all my friends. I didn't have a ticket, they did. They'd all gone in, they'd all left me all their booze, so I had like a massive carrier bag full of beer. I was 17 and no friends, they'd all gone in. And the Radio 1 Roadshow was there, so I just went over to it and was leaning over the barrier, drinking a can of lager, watching Mark Goodyear do his thing. And he started doing a Q&A. He says, look, if anyone can answer this next question right, you get a free ticket. So I'm like, rightio. So I put my hand up and he's come over to me. He said, right, if you get this question right, you're in. I'm like, awesome. And he said, what's Robert Plant's middle name? And 17-year-old me was barely aware who Robert Plant was, let alone what his middle name was. I'm like, and while I'm trying to think, someone behind me shouts it out. And he for whatever reason, he very generously went, there you go. Gave me a ticket.
What is it?
I think it might have been Andrew or Alistair, begin with A, can't remember. He gave me the ticket, but then took all my alcohol off me. He said, how old are you? I went, 17. He went, right, give me all that. And he took it all off me.
What a fucker. Well, I remember we had a copy of that Nebworth, because it was televised.
Yeah, it was,
Sorry,
yeah.
am I cutting in on your story?
No, I'll finish it in a minute, go on.
But they had Eric Clapton,
Yes.
Dire Straits,
Yep.
all of these different, but they all wore silk suits. Do you remember?
They did, and it was really windy.
Yeah, and it was really windy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Clapton did a track
Yeah,
called
just these suit going.
Before You Accuse Me, which was brilliant, and he snaps a string on it.
That's right.
And I mean, my brother and I, Bob, we watch YouTube videos of performances like we do, and that's one of our staples. That is.
It was incredible. It was a weird day because they had a revolving stage, so that meant while one band was on, the other band was setting up ready to go, but there was still a 20-minute gap between bands. And I can't remember who opened it, but Tears for Fears were right near the beginning, and they were at their peak at that point. They were absolutely amazing. At that point, they were my favourite band probably, so seeing them was incredible. Status Quo were there, did what they always do, but got the crowd
Loads
going.
of gear.
Loads of gear. They got
Down, deeper. Oh man,
they got the
before
crowd
they
going.
went cheesy, they were brilliant.
I think there was a moment where Cliff Richard was on where I thought I'll have a sit down. But it was like one after the other. It was like Clapton, it was Dire Straits,
Yeah.
it was Nathan East in the band,
Yeah.
And-
we were sending videos of this to each other the other night. That's inspired this.
Ray Cooper,
Yeah.
and like these Phil Collins, Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
It was just like one after the other.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney doing Hey Jude, a Mexican wave started going around the whole of Nebworth Park. But it was a slightly enhanced Mexican wave in that when everyone did their wave bit,
Yeah.
they picked up all the food scraps that were on the floor and threw them in the air. So we saw this wave coming from the other side, and it was like, what's
Gross.
that? What? Oh no! It's like
Gross.
you suddenly get hit with loads of old burgers. And
Hey, food,
it was,
old food.
but it was amazing, and that was
I
the
think
first
it's
gig.
bad.
The very first gig I went to was that, so the bar was high. When you've seen McCartney, Clapton, Knopfler, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Well, did you say Pink Floyd?
Well, the awkward bit about it, Pink Floyd were like the last act.
Yeah.
And by which point I'd been there all day, was tired. It was
You weren't drunk because Mark Goody had nicked
No,
all your
I
beer.
wasn't drunk, but I was a bit tired, bit bored, bit hungry, and Pink Floyd's big light show thing wasn't working because the rain had destroyed it. So I think they did like 2 or 3 songs. I'm like, yeah, I'm going home. So I missed it. Missed the finale. I remember phoning my dad from a phone box, and he came and picked me up, and that was that. But yeah, that was a high bar for the first gig I'd ever been to. But I would say my personal best gigs I've ever seen in person. I went to see U2 on the Zoo TV tour at Wembley Stadium. That was, and I was right at the front.
I've got to say, I don't really like going to gigs, and the best gigs I've seen have been the gigs I've worked at,
Yes.
and a lot of them have been at Brixton Academy.
Well, we've had
I fucking love Brixton
Brixton's
Academy.
cool.
And what's the one in Amsterdam we do? La Paradiso.
the Paradiso. Yeah.
That's a brilliant gig.
It's a brilliant gig, but from a sound engineer's point of view, it's living hell.
Yeah, well, it's high, isn't it?
It has the worst acoustics of any room anywhere. But you're
Yeah.
right, the atmosphere in there is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've been blessed in that we've been able to be a part of some amazing gigs, but also we've stood at the side of stage at other people's gigs.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a perk not many people in the world get.
I've got to say, when you stood up, and again, we purposely don't do this, but when you stood side of stage, watching a band fucking tear it down, and the crowd are going mental, it's probably, I don't know, second to being in the band, but
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It is amazing, yeah. But then, now and again you use your pass if you're at a festival. If you're working on a festival, you have an AAA pass and go anywhere. And I've a few times gone at front of house. I saw Massive Attack from front of house at V 2005. That was incredible. Trying to think of other ones I've been at. Oh, I'll tell you what a really, really amazing one was, which I wasn't even expecting. I was in Nashville on tour doing a gig at, they have like this big conference in Nashville where all the promoters in the US go and watch all the bands that are looking for gigs. And it's not like little unheard of bands, they're big acts. We were there, I was there with Howard Jones, and we saw Survivor go on after us. We watched them do Eye of the Tiger. That was pretty cool. But then
what's your second favourite Survivor song?
Purple Heart, was that the other one? They did two that were very similar, weren't they? They did two that were very similar.
Yeah.
And then we went, I don't know if it was later that night, we were just wandering around and I saw Sly and the Family Stone playing live.
Oh, yeah.
In front, no, like almost no one there. And obviously Sly's long gone. It was his daughter with the Family Stone. Oh, God, I couldn't believe I was there. I've got photos of it, I've got videos of it. It was incredible. These are some of my favourite songs of all time. Watching them being played by the people that made them originally, right in front of my eyes, that was next level.
I tell you, I went to Boomtown only once,
Okay, yeah.
but what a festival! And
a lot of people that like
I went
Boomtown.
with my friend Ryan,
Yeah.
and we just had the best time. The weather was good, you know, it was all good, and it's really interesting because there's lots of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
You know, you go in, there's this little, well, there's a town, and you go in these little doors, and it leads into all these weird little stages and stuff.
Yeah.
But I can remember there were two key points, two key moments. One was watching Groove Armada on the sort of, there's a bowl stage there. Just as the sun was coming down, we're watching Groove Armada,
pretty cool.
and it was amazing. And the other one was late one night, you know, we'd been up for ages and we were a bit tired, and we were walking back, and Prophets of Rage were on.
I don't know Prophets of Rage.
They are, it's Rage Against the Machine, but instead of Zach De La Rocha, they've got the guy from Cypress Hill and...
Lost Prophets in there somewhere?
No, not Lost Prophets, no, God. Didn't he? No.
I don't know.
We'll leave that, park that. But they...
Yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah.
But they obviously had, in the first few years, they had a lot of noise complaints at Boomtown.
Yeah.
And so they've just got stacks of PA everywhere, and it's perfectly aligned. So no matter where you are,
You're getting good sound.
You're getting great sound.
Some engineers have spent a long time clicking out
Oh
that system.
man, yeah. It was absolutely. I mean, I've never seen Rage Against the Machine. They are one of the bands I'd have loved to have seen. But yeah, Prophets of Rage, that was a proper gig.
I've thought of one other gig that blew my mind. Me and my mate Rob went to see Spearhead with Michael Franti
Yes.
at the Jazz Cafe.
Yeah.
Now the Jazz Cafe, if you are lucky enough to see a band you're really into there, it's intimate enough that it's like an incredible experience. And you know, Michael Franti is just an incredible performer. His band are all amazing. It was one of those gigs where it's like I couldn't believe I was there.
I've got a good friend who's a front of house engineer, and he's a really, really good engineer. Mixes everyone and anyone. He doesn't care as long as he's working.
Yep.
But he does your mate Robert Andrew Plant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so he's a Midlands boy.
Yep.
Not far from me. And I get this phone call one day. He rehearses in a village hall in somewhere in Birmingham.
Yep.
I get this phone call. Do you want to come and watch Robert Plant rehearse?
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, I
Does
do.
Robert Plant want people to watch him rehearse?
No, he
What's
doesn't.
all that
And that was it. You know, just come in, just coil some cables and rattle around
Look
a bit.
busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look busy. But yeah, I mean that was. And do you know what? It was amazing watching him sing, but it was watching him work with the band as well.
Yeah.
You know, he would because they were doing. It wasn't the Alison Krauss crew. It was another project he'd got on the go. But he was like, no, that wasn't quite vibing. Let's try this. You play this. You do that. He was complimentary to some of the guys. He was like, yeah, that was really happening. But he worked really hard. He was really in tune with everybody. And he was a really nice fella. But it's one of those few times where you're just completely starstruck.
Yeah. Wow. And of course, that was one of the big things about Nebworth 90, which is what we started talking about.
Yeah.
Is that there'd been a long gap between Page and Plant performing together.
They did that, didn't
And they did that at Nebworth
Yeah.
90. And so the
Yeah.
first time or the only time
Jimmy
I got
Page
to
was
see Jimmy Page,
absolutely arseholes.
I think backstage there might have been quite lively.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Cigarette in his mouth, playing
Yeah.
that pink. He was playing that pink Les Paul. What? And they came on, and did rock and roll, didn't they? Yeah.
welcome to
Bonjour.
episode 4, back to the studio. Shall we do some news?
Yeah, we normally do, don't we?
We normally do. So, this was a good one I found online. So, there's a woman in Maryland, USA, name of Nicole Paulino, who went to apply for a renewal on a driving license and was told she couldn't have a driving license because she was dead.
Well, it's a good reason.
Good a reason as any.
How are you going to drive if you're dead?
Well, that's a very good point. But imagine the grief that causes when a government agency thinks you're dead. I had a thing.
I'd go and rob a bank.
It can't have been me. I'm dead. I had a very similar thing happen. It was a long time ago now when I was with my ex-wife. I was on tour, and while I was away on tour, she got a letter from British Telecom saying condolences on the death of your husband. However, there is an outstanding balance of. And when I got home, she showed me this letter. I'm like, I mean, A, why do they think I'm dead? That's the big question here. Secondly, if I am dead, in the same letter, they're going to demand you pay the outstanding bill.
But they don't care, do they?
I know, but I phoned them up and went nuts. I went, well, first of all, I'm not dead.
You went, ooh. Death groan.
But I thought, do you know what, I can get somewhere with this. So I just said, you really upset my wife. I was away travelling in another country. You sent her a letter saying I was dead. Obviously, she panics.
Yeah.
So you can write off the bill for doing that. And they kind of agreed.
Good for them.
But how does that happen?
I don't know. The computer says no.
Computer says dead.
Yeah, it's not people writing these letters, is there?
No, I suppose not. No. But maybe it was in those days. I don't know. It's random.
Computer generated, mate.
Computer generated, yeah, you're probably right. What else going on in the news, Dan?
There was some pretty bad news, actually. There was these killings in Southport that we shouldn't really get into.
No, that was pretty tragic.
But-
yeah, they've done the court case, haven't they?
Yeah, it's all sort of. Yeah, from week to week, there's been some big news stories which we've covered across the last few weeks of wildfires and and the Trump. It's just.
The interesting one about those killings, I think, is that it's brought up the topic of knives and who should be able to buy knives. And someone made a really good point I heard the other day. It's like, if someone that nuts, that intent on killing people, can't buy a knife, but he can rent a van, I mean, that's just as good a weapon.
Yeah.
If you just want to kill people, you can do it with anything.
You do it with your bare hands.
Exactly. So it's, as much as I don't think children should be able to buy sharp knives, I don't think it's a problem. It's not. That's not the problem, is it? It's missing the problem. The problem is we are creating angry people who are, for whatever reason, wanting to go and kill people.
Yeah, people have always been angry. You always get psychos. And,
you do. There's always going to be nut jobs.
People. The thing is, you don't know what life this isn't an excuse, but you don't know what they must have had a traumatic childhood themselves to turn out to be that loopy.
Yes. Yeah, of course. But that's always a difficult one, isn't it? Because there's always a reason why someone's angry and there's always a reason why someone's evil. And quite often it's because they had a terrible childhood and their parents were rubbish or whatever else.
Because quite often it's actually physiological damage to the brain. Do you remember seeing that Netflix documentary about the American footballer who ended up
I don't think I did.
So he had a Hernandez or something like that.
Yeah.
But basically, when he died in the end, there was actual physical. There was bits of his brain missing from having played American football and all the trauma and stuff.
So
and it just you lose reason or feelings or all this different stuff as your brain gets damaged and depleted.
Well, it's interesting. My girlfriend, she's studying psychology at the moment, and so much stuff is I'm hearing, because obviously I sort of hear a lot and I talk to a lot about it, and it's really interesting that how much stuff that happens to you in like the first few weeks of your life that affects the whole rest of it. Yeah. In your personality, how you react to other people is very much dictated by the first few weeks of how attentive your mum is or your dad is, or what kind of reactions you're given to the way you behave as a tiny baby. It sets you off. The die is cast really young, which is terrifying. Yeah, because you don't really know what you're doing quite often when you're a parent and you get a baby for the first time. You got no clue.
No, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I mean you've had it more recent than me.
I have, yeah. But I mean, I look back and we were very fortunate. I can confidently say that my little girl had a brilliant first few months.
lots of laying around. We both had time off work, lots of laying around, playing guitar, singing and playing, and
Nice.
yeah, up in the night, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's what you
Yeah.
need.
Yeah.
Positive experiences.
Yeah, fucking wouldn't do it again though. Jesus.
Yeah. Well, do you know what?
What? You're thinking of doing it again?
No, not now. I've got 3. I've got 3 and I live with another 3. That's complicated enough. And my kids are 27, 25, not 27, he's 26, nearly 27, 26, 25, 21. That's
You'll be granddad, Sean, next.
that ain't going to be far off. That isn't going to be far off, I don't think.
I can't wait.
I'm never going to hear the end of it, am I? No. What's my nickname going to be? Gramps?
Gramps. We'll come up with something.
Wheel. The
Yeah.
consensus.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
I can't wait. Yeah. I look forward to it.
Yeah,
I
of
think
course you do. Yeah,
I remember in my 40s saying to my kids, "Come on, don't do that to me," But once you hit 50, it's like, that's all right. Whatever. I'm ready.
my girlfriend's a grandmother, and she absolutely loves it.
Yeah, why wouldn't you love it? It's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, being a dad is amazing, as you found out.
yeah.
It is the highlight of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you do things right, it's the best
Well, I
thing.
won't go that far. I mean, it's all right.
It's the only thing that matters, really.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah,
end
no,
of the
you're
day.
right.
Making
Anyway,
your-
yeah.
Making
Yeah.
your kids happy and,
Yeah, we've just been to see your Scarlet, haven't we?
We have, yeah. We went to see my daughter who works in a pub not far away. Yeah, it's nice. It's lovely to have an adult relationship with your kids. Once you get past that, you're still always going to be their dad and mum, whatever. But it changes a bit. And
It's difficult having an adult relationship with their mum, isn't it? Oh, fine. God, we're going to have to edit loads of this, aren't we?
we can leave that in.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just move on.
Let's just move on. That's what she said.
Yeah, we've all been there. Right. TV, what have we been watching for the last week? Shall I kick off? Or
Yeah,
do
you better.
wanna
Yeah,
kick off?
we'll just talk about what you've been watching, because I haven't been watching much TV, to be honest.
No. Well, I go through phases
Yeah.
of watching loads or watching none. So this week I went down a bit of a YouTube rabbit hole of watching old Tom Scott YouTubes. Now, Tom Scott, if you're not aware of him, years ago, like over 10 years ago, started doing a regular video every week about something interesting. Some of them were
That's a
quite
good idea.
short. It's a good idea, yeah. Some of them were quite short, like maybe 5 minutes long. Some of them were like much longer and more involved. And he's a very good presenter. He puts things in a very clear way. And it'd always be something along the lines of,
Tom Scott.
look him up. How pylons work, or why does this town have this particular thing here? It's always something fascinating. And as it went on, he went further and further afield. He went to different countries. He got all kinds of support from massive companies and institutions to give him access to things to make these films. They're very, very interesting. And then just over a year ago, I think it was, he basically said, right, I've done 10 years now. I'm stopping. And he made a final video. And I don't know if he's made any more. I haven't noticed any more. But they were amazing.
Yeah.
And I think he turned it into something incredible. And
You've been watching that?
I've been watching lots. Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. And he, in the early days of YouTube, I guess, he picked up on some things which I guess really resonated. Like, he will always wear the same colour t-shirt, and if it's a bit colder, he'll always wear the same hoodie. So he looks the same in every single video for 10 years pretty much, which is a bit weird. There's no need to do that.
No.
But for whatever reason,
He decided to.
he decided to do it and people liked it. There was a bunch of things he did. And like, he would always do the opening monologue or whatever, or it might be the only bit of the video. It might just be him talking to a camera. And whatever's behind him will be relevant to what he's talking about. He will be somewhere, and he would have, with purpose, gone to that
Couldn't we have
place.
stolen some of these good ideas?
We could have. We might have.
Yeah.
A little
we
bit.
might have a little bit.
A little
okay.
bit. But yeah, it's just very, very good.
Yeah.
And, once you watch a couple, obviously YouTube keeps feeding you more. So yeah, I've been on a bit of a Tom Scott rabbit hole.
Bender. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not saying he's a bender, just.
I did watch a film, the other night, which
Yeah.
I'd seen before, and I remembered liking it, but I couldn't really remember all of it. So I thought, that's worth another watch. Operation Mincemeat, which is Colin Firth, Matthew McFadden, Kelly MacDonald, and it's the film, true story, I think, about the Second World War. They wanted to basically fool Hitler into thinking that we were going to invade in one place when actually we were going to invade somewhere else. It was when I think it was when we were going into Italy. they wanted to think we were going to invade Greece or whatever. So they decided the best way to do this was to plant a corpse in the sea that had a secret letter, basically explaining the plan. But they thought this has to be so good. So they had to handpick a corpse that looked like the right sort of age, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They had to find someone that looked like the corpse in order to get photos and a whole backstory. They had to give him a girlfriend.
Someone that looked like a corpse.
They had to look like the corpse, so that they could take photos and give him a backstory of a life that he's in his personal effects. He would have photos and this stuff. They really went to town, and it worked. But it was the story behind it, and the fact that these guys were basically winning the war.
Yeah.
But not by being out there and getting shot at, but by coming up with these genius ideas. And it's fascinating that, they probably...
I do like a war film.
Yeah, but they probably lived their whole lives. No one knew what they did.
No.
No one, there's all secret stuff. They never got to brag about it. A film got made probably after they were dead.
Yeah. I tell you, I do like the war. I like Finest Hour with Gary Oldman.
That's very good, yeah.
Apparently somebody was saying that Gary Oldman is forever grateful for having an R in his name.
I had to think about that for a minute. Your jokes are getting worse, man.
But yeah, he does a great Churchill. And the other one I like, which is is controversial for British author, is Valkyrie. With
Tom Cruise, that's brilliant.
The plot to try and kill Hitler.
With the bomb under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a sad end and all that, though, isn't it? It's heavy.
Yeah.
It is heavy. They are both good films.
I do, like I say, I do like a war film. Not as much. Favourite kind of film, submarine film. Love a submarine film.
Submarine films are special, aren't
Das
they?
Boot.
Das Boot was excellent. Hunt for Red October.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, that's up there, isn't it?
Yeah,
One of the best films.
Yeah.
Amazing film.
Yeah.
And true.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they used a lot of creative license.
Yeah,
But that was...
Well, it's your man, who's the author that wrote that? Michael Crichton, wasn't it?
Crichton. Was it? I think it was the other guy, wasn't
Was
it? Who's the guy that writes all those books?
All the spy ones.
Not Len Dayton. The other one. There's another one. Who was it? I can't remember. But yeah. Very, very, very good film. Getting on a bit now, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but still, I mean, 7.5 on IMDb.
Really? Okay. What was the one with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington?
You're right, it is. It's Tom Clancy.
Tom Clancy, there you go, yeah. Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman, that one. Absolutely brilliant. Two submarine commanders absolutely going at it the whole time.
I don't know.
I can't remember. It's one of the best ones, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Can't remember. But that one's very good. Whatever that's called.
Is that Rain?
Is what rain? Is it raining out there? Yeah, it could be, yeah.
Wow,
Could
crikey.
be rain, yeah.
It's normally sunny when we're in the studio.
It is, yeah. Yeah, no, terrible weather out there.
That's nice. I feel all snug.
You feel all snug and cosy in the studio because it's pissing down outside.
Yeah.
Right, audio.
Mm-hmm.
What have you been listening to, Dan?
Well, yes, there is a new account on Instagram that's just sprung up.
Oh, yeah.
That is taking everybody by storm.
New account on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he plays like old 90s jungle and drum and bass. So the likes of DJ Hype, DJ Zinc, Renegade, DJ Dine, DJ Suv, DJ Kane. So let me just see. His name's Pablo.
So that's all it is?
Yeah.
Close up with a deck. Oh, nice. And does it...
So I've been reliving my youth. It's a guy called Pablo G Vinyl. So yeah, loads of old jungle and drum and bass on Instagram. And then he's obviously got SoundCloud.
Yep.
So you go onto his SoundCloud and he's got all these vinyl mixes that he's done. But then I got back into SoundCloud and found all of these old mixes of all of, the people I used to know. And then I found a load of mixes that I'd done in the past. So I sort of, rather than getting into, I don't hate Spotify and Apple, but I can never think of what to listen to. There's too much choice.
No, too much choice is
But
a
yeah,
problem.
some of these old mixes on SoundCloud and stuff like that.
SoundCloud's become a bit of a thing again, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really strange. It's taken off in lots of ways, but in people that are making music, which is kind of isn't that where it started, SoundCloud?
Kind of, yeah.
It's gone back to that, and so much so that a couple of people that I know in the industry are now using it,
Yeah.
you know, as a tool to grow artists.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like-
I think a lot of the students that we work with at the university, especially sort of dance music and stuff,
yeah,
that's their main platform. It's really easy to flick through.
yeah,
It's really easy to find mega new, really good.
Yes.
Because it's however the algorithms work on Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
You get all the Calvin Harris and the bullshit you're not really interested in. Diplo
Yeah.
and what have you. I mean, they're all right, but you find some really good, very unheard of sort of new music on SoundCloud.
yep. Interesting. I might have to dive back in. I've still
Yeah.
got my account, I think.
Yeah, well,
Must
I
have.
realised I must have drunkenly at some point subscribed to it because I realised it was coming up on my bank account for £10 a month, so I soon cancelled that.
Ouch. That could have been going on for years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Oh God, you have to go. PayPal is the other one. We've got all these subscriptions that come through PayPal. We did the episode on not an episode, but we were talking about Splice subscriptions recently.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's what $6.99 a month.
Yeah. Every time I go to get rid of it, I'm like, just I might need it. I might need it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You end up with
Might need the 4 million credits. I've got.
exactly. Just accrue credits you're never going to use. Right. So my audio, obviously, I'm still kind of tuned into LBC at the moment. There's just too much good stuff going on in the news. But the other thing is that I've started doing audiobooks whilst walking the dog, which is, it's a really nice, I haven't really got into that before. I've done audiobooks on tour and stuff, and when you're trying to sleep on a bus, it's quite nice to listen to stuff. I've never really done it whilst walking. I've always quite enjoyed and thought it was better for me to hear the sounds of just being out and about. But actually, it's really nice. You know, you can have it on low enough that you can still hear if someone's trying to talk to you or whatever. So I went back to a book that I read when it came out because I just thought it'd be really interesting to hear the audiobook. And the book was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson, which if you haven't read it, I might even recommend the audiobook more.
Yeah.
I
Well, there's a
presume
Netflix film as well.
is what?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
There's a film.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
check
it was
that
a
out.
New York Times, Sunday Times bestseller, and then it was a Netflix thing, and then obviously there's an audiobook. But if you read it, in my opinion, sorry,
Yep. Go on. No, go on.
it's your book. You have a little you have a little chat first, Pete.
Little chat first.
Sorry.
I just think it's a very, very good bit of. It's basically a big slab of advice put to you in different ways about how to use your brain for your betterment rather than let everyone else's bullshit ruin it.
It's pick your battles, isn't it?
It is pick your battles. Yeah.
You know, if what? Yeah, I mean that's what I learned from it.
Yeah.
Don't pick fights with
No.
that aren't worth fighting.
Let things go.
Let things go.
It's do you know what? It's one of the most common conversations I have with my girlfriend and with some of my friends when they're stressed about stuff. Just let things go.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
exactly that.
You're
Pick
a
your
very
battles.
passive kind of guy, though. I'm surprised you had to read it because your things don't stress you out too much, do they?
Well, I that is the perception that people have of me a lot. I get that all the time. Well, you're very calm. You know, you're very calming, and it's like, yeah, but that's because I suck it up, and it's in there somewhere. You know, and every now and again I explode. It's kind of not like that.
Don't you?
That stopped years ago.
Yeah.
No, but it's like, you know, unhealthily hanging on to stress
Yeah,
is
yeah.
terrible for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm having to learn really how to not have it in the first place rather than bury it, just to deal with it at the moment
Yeah.
and learn to let
Yeah.
stuff go. Because, you know, there's a really good quote, which is anxiety is you worrying about something that hasn't happened yet,
Yeah. Yeah.
which you could choose not to do.
Yeah.
Choose
yeah.
not to worry about
Totally,
it. There could be
totally.
something really, really stressy happening
Yeah.
tomorrow, but you only ruin today worrying about it
Yeah.
by letting yourself.
Yeah, and it probably won't be as bad as you worry about anyway.
It's never as bad as that,
No.
you know, and it's a bit like, you know, doing the job that I do, you know, for my main job, I'm artist management. I would say that if something is really difficult, you know, sometimes I have to say some very difficult things to people. I have to have some very, very difficult conversations with people, and I never put them off. Just do it. Pick up the phone, do it, because then you're done.
Yeah.
And it ain't going to sit on your brain and bother you or worry you. And the second it's done, it's done.
I think you could write a better book than Mark Manson.
I'd
I
have
think
to.
that's really good advice. It is approaching these things head on.
Yeah. That isn't how I would have done things If I was doing it for myself
Yeah.
years ago before
Yeah.
I'd done this job, I wouldn't have done it like that. I would have worried and I would have stressed about it. But the only way for me to finish my job in the evening and go into the house and relax is if I've emptied that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Got it done.
Got it done. Get it done. You know, got to have an awkward conversation with someone. It's way more awkward for them.
Yeah.
That's the best way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, I had to tell someone that A, we weren't going to be working with them anymore, and B, why. That wasn't an easy conversation to have. But
It was worse for them.
It was way worse for them.
Yeah.
And the second I've finished, I'm like, I feel all right. And they're probably better off.
Yeah.
I just told them straight. I didn't mess around.
Yeah.
It's helped everyone that I just ripped the plaster off. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Horrific.
Horrific.
Yeah.
It is horrific. I mean, one day I won't have to have those conversations with people. That
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and that would be
Look
nice to be in
forward
that
to that.
position.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do look forward to that. But you know, while you've got to do it, and we all do now and again, do it that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's enough for now.
Mm.
So thanks for tuning in again for another episode of The
Is
Plan.
that it? Is it?
Yeah,
Wow.
we're done.
Crikey.
Yeah, goes quick, doesn't it?
It does go quick. Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun and
Yeah.
drinking tea.
Yeah.
Sat in a nice, cosy, warm studio while it's pissing
Listen
down
to
with
the
rain
rain,
outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, subscribe to the channel, like the video. There's a TikTok, other stuff down there probably.
Check out the social media links. Yeah.
Yeah, and we will see you in the next one.
Look forward to it.
Adios.
Ta-ra.